Welcome to another episode of All American Wing Shooting Podcast. Today we have one of my SCI buddies, Richard Kennedy. Welcome to our podcast. We've been talking about it for forever.
It's great to finally be here. I think we've, tried this for over a year now to get together?
Yeah. It's crazy because we're together and we're like, no, we're having too much fun in the present. We can't push pause.
Yeah. You can't slow down.
No. Okay, so there's a really big deal why I've wanted you to be on here because you actually practice what I preach.
Uh-oh. You better explain that for me here.
So Richard is director at large with SCI. He's also the chapter president of Acadiana. What was that?
Acadiana,
Louisiana. And I'm always talking about the importance of getting involved in your local chapters and the reward that we get as an individual from being involved. You know, there's so many times that people don't understand it takes the people that you don't know the names to get done, and the people that are on the billboards or that have the big titles that are making all these waves in the industry, but it's because there's so many people behind them.
You definitely can't do it alone. You definitely can't get involved and be by yourself. You know, you've got to have somebody pushing you. We started our chapter, actually, Anna, back in 2015. And the whole thing came about because at convention that year, we had a bunch of Louisiana people together. A few of them happened to be in the elevator with the then president, who's from here, Paul Babez, who's from South Louisiana. He said, "Why don't you have a chapter?"
He's here with me now.
Right.
Yeah, he's in Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's right down the road from you. And so he's in the elevator with a bunch of Louisiana guys. They get talking. He said, "Why don't you have a chapter?" Well, a chapter started. I got involved. I've heard about SCI for years from a great buddy of mine, Mark Kessler. Mark, originally a Georgia boy, but we were in college together and he was inviting me. And I knew nothing about it except for he would go to Reno or Las Vegas every year during the college school year. And I was like, man, I think I'd rather stay in Dallas and hang out with everybody here in town and not spend money on a plane ticket. And lo and behold, I get pulled in. I go to convention, have the best time of my life, met, the rock stars of the hunting world who are regular people. We're having breakfast or lunch or sharing drinks at dinner, whatever, together. And we start a chapter back here, and it's just taken off. We've had so much fun, and through the process, you're like me. You get involved in something, and you don't go halfway in; you go all the way in. And someone said, "Well, have you thought about doing this? Tell me about it." Yeah, let me go do it. And so, lo and behold, I got elected to director at large several years ago. I've got an election coming up next month where I am running again for another term as director at large. Awesome. So it's fun, but more of it is you've got this internal desire to do what needs to be done, and that is to help spread the message of the benefits of conservation through hunting, to introduce more people into hunting. And I think you're doing a really great job on your end with all that you're doing. And I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, you know what? If I'm not going to do it, who's going to go do it? And I have a little bit of time available, and here we are today.
Well, I think you actually carved out the time.
Well, you're an attorney.
You're an attorney by day, and you have a family and busy kids, and you like to travel, But this is the thing that I wanted us to talk about, because we connected because we're both wing shooters and we love the bird dogs, and that's not really talked about or assumed that SCI represents if you don't kind of break into this bubble.
It's, the name throws a lot of people off of what the organization is really focused on. And, clearly Safari Club International, everybody knows SCI, is their motto: first for hunters. And it's not about where you hunt. It's not about what you hunt. It's the fact that you hunt. Or you want to hunt one day. Okay, you may not be in a time and a place where you're able to hunt. I've never been to Africa. I'm getting pictures from a buddy of mine, Tyler, who's there right now. And I'm living vicariously. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, one day I'm going to make it. One day I'm going to carve out that time.
I have a trip on paper. We just got to set dates where we could go to South Africa for 3 trips. And it's all mapped out to get all the species on the world record book in 3 trips.
Really?
Yeah. I did that with one of the outfitters that's at convention.
No kidding.
Yeah, Tim Van Heerden, he's been on the podcast. He was on an earlier episode.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And who knew that wing shooting was huge there? I mean, it's kind of just now taken off, but it is a big deal.
They've got a lot of birds. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the first icons, which if you're into short hairs here in the States, he's kind of like the grandfather of the AKC testing, but he has genetics there. Georgia short hair genetics are over there.
No kidding.
On birds, yeah. It's really cool.
Kidding.
So it makes the world feel really small.
You know, and that's the neat thing about SCI. So it's not all Africa. I know we were just talking about Africa. It's not all Africa. It is about everywhere. And, you know, a lot of what you hear about when you talk about people who hunt is those who hunt locally. And each area has its own unique clique within it. So I'm a huge, wing shooter, as you know, and I love the woodcock hunt.
Chaser. Yeah.
What's that?
You're the woodcock chaser.
I love chasing woodcock, and it's really for me about the dog work. You know, I've heard your shows. I listen to all these, other bird dog hunters, and it's about the dog. Everything else is
always starts
extra.
with the dog. Yeah, and there's so many women. Like I just talked about this with the California Waterfowl Association. I podcasted with them yesterday on their show. And that was one question they asked me, like, did you start hunting before the dog or after the dog? And I was like, before the dog. Mercy threw me in this because I got this wild short hair. I was like, she needs a job. But I meet so many women that are motivated because of the dog. And they're like, I'm missing out on its purpose because I'm holding myself back. Causes them to step out of their comfort zone,
Yeah, it's, the neat thing is, and kind of getting back to every area with the click, is you'll find out you have overlapping interests within each group, right? So we've had, you're very familiar with duck hunting in South Louisiana. There is a huge generational community of duck hunters down here. And of course, if you're a duck hunter, what kind of dog do you have? Well, everybody has a lab. And I got into a group of hunters actually through a Delta waterfowl banquet. I met this one guy, and he's got a versatile hunting dog. And he said, no.
Which would be? What is a versatile hunting dog?
So for him, it's like the SUV of dogs, right? It's a dog that can kind of do everything. So
what's that breed? Are you going to out it, or are you just going to keep me guessing?
Well, so he's got a wired hair Griffon that he duck hunts with.
Okay, so what are you going to say when I say that my lab is a versatile hunting dog?
I wouldn't disagree. I think it's all in how you train them, right?
Well, I've gotten multiple limits of grouse in the Northwoods with a lab. And I come from the short hair snob. Like, that was humble beginnings of me. I thought the versatile dog was those little compact rockets.
Right.
But then I even proved myself wrong.
It could be any kind of dog, really. So he uses this dog
He's picking on you.
to duck hunt and woodcock, and he travels to the Midwest and they do pheasant and sharptail and all this great stuff. And so the communities overlap. And the great thing within SCI is you've got your people who, they travel to Africa, they travel to Alaska, they go to South America, they go to New Zealand. One of our chapter members was sending me pictures of a tar that he shot down there and a red stag. He's having the time of his life. And he's just a guy from South Louisiana, and said, you know what, there's more to hunting than just right here. And I think one of the things that we all have as hunters in our mind is one day, right? The one day
we'll do that.
The one day concept that one day I want to go up to the Dakotas and duck hunt up there before they come down to South Louisiana. One day I want to go to Canada. One day I want to go to Mexico. One day I want to go here and there. It's the one day concept. But what happens if that one day never comes?
Well, they talk about that you are the average sum of the 5 people that you hang out with the most, right?
Right.
And what I found is my SCI crowd, they don't sit still very long. Like, they're all doers. They're doers in life and they're doers in the field. So that one day theory, it doesn't really last around here. Everybody's like, well, we're planning this trip, and they're like, well, how many extra spots you got?
Right. Now, depending on where you are in life in that circle of friends, right?
Yeah.
That circle can develop over time and people get swapped in and out. But you and I are sitting here one day talking about Africa. The one day to Africa.
It's okay. You're fine. So the one day to Africa, I planned this trip.
Right. So now it's on the radar, right?
Now we got to do
you're
it.
Thinking, all right, I can see it. It's on my calendar. I know when I'm going to go. The great thing that SCI does is it's protecting that one day. It is making sure that you as a hunter have the right to continue to hunt. And it's an uphill battle.
So,
it's
it's
ever changing.
I pulled up this list that some people in SCI actually sent me, because I said, okay, it's easy to see, to pull up social media or the website and see what you're doing on a big game. Like, we always have a bear project, right? We've always got a project going on in Africa. We always have those things, but Ben and his crew are always working in DC, and there's no way to really advertise every single thing that they do.
It's like, so much.
No one knows how involved. Yeah, no one knows how involved SCI was in saving waterfowl season in Australia. Our friends worked on that project. Like, they were the saving grace of that project, and nobody really highlights it. And so for me, when I got involved with SCI, I was like, I don't think that wing shooters have any idea of the battles that we face, that people are fighting for us, and we don't even know who they are. It's like they take care of them before we even know there's an issue.
And you have a hard time explaining SCI to other people who've never heard about it. And as we've built our chapter up here, because it was new to the area, you kind of have to figure out ways, and SCI is great about helping you get started and do all of these, intro meetings and all the materials. It's fantastic. But each area of the country, each area of a state is very unique. And you've got to be able to almost look somebody in the eye and say, okay, all the other groups that we have, your Delta, your Ducks Unlimited, your QDMA, Pheasants and Quail Forever, what is their focus? Okay,
habitat.
They are focused on the animal, making sure it's healthy and it's got land to live in, right? And that's going to survive. Well, okay, well, what does SCI do? Well, SCI is kind of like that big umbrella on top saying, we love all of that, and we're all for it, and we help contribute to those projects through our foundation and through the organization. But we protect the hunters who want to pursue that game as well. And we are in state capitals, we're in state, in federal and international courthouses. We have a legal team overseas too
Right.
that most people don't know about. And so we are
Oh, yeah.
constantly monitoring every whisper that happens so we can do that one thing and keep hunters first and protect our rights to go hunt, which is really cool. And so I never knew all this was going on in the background. You know, we just had a huge
Yeah.
victory in Louisiana for the
With what?
black bear, right?
Right.
So
Oh, yeah, that got posted everywhere.
that hit social media huge. But what state residents didn't realize, and maybe other bear hunters nationwide didn't realize, is that we haven't had a bear hunt since the 80s. When bear got put on the endangered species list, a lot of effort through our great friend Maria Davidson was put forth through Wildlife and Fisheries to get the bear population documented, to make sure that we have a good count on them, that we have a healthy population, that they're growing and doing fantastic. And so we've got all the science behind us, and that gets presented, and eventually we're trying to get the black bears delisted, and lawsuits get filed over it. Who was there? Safari Club. Safari Club intervened in a lawsuit that was filed in Washington, D.C. over Louisiana black bear. Half a country away, this lawsuit gets filed. Nobody in Louisiana was really aware of it in the hunting community. And
That's crazy.
There's so much that happens that the average person is unaware of in any aspect of life.
I've got a little list here that really affects like wing shooters like us. So it's still probably mind-blowing for people to realize that states didn't have Sunday hunting. Right? Like Pennsylvania was a big issue for Sunday hunting. SCI was really involved in Virginia getting Sunday hunting. They're always hammering down on public land, protecting the public land hunting. But you and I are from the South, and we're just raised like talk about private land hunting and like keeping private landowners still owners of their property, right? Because everybody takes so much pride in the conservation of their own property.
Right.
But the big thing that really hits home to me, and I think it's because I started shooting as a clay shooter, is that they stay on top of the lead ammo ban. And I have so many friends in the UK that like they can't shoot lead ammo anymore. And I can't imagine what would happen with all of our youth shooters and how much effort we've put into the SCTP, all these college teams that are popping up, if all of a sudden we can't use lead ammo.
And look at the cost of an equivalent material. It's a multiple of the cost of lead.
Like, yeah. I mean, there's so many people that would literally not be able to continue shooting.
Yeah. And even, you know, the jump to steel, and I'm not a ballistics master by any means. You know, I stick with federal premium for upland shooting, and I love it.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, it works. I'm dropping birds. When I miss them, I should be missing them. And when I hit them, you know, I'm hitting them. And the stuff that's out there that's non-toxic equivalents that I can use, I've got a lot of shotguns, and some of them I can't shoot steel through them. I'd have to go get new barrels. And, you know, tungsten and bismuth and all these equivalent non-toxics are so expensive. You know,
well, it's not even that. If you look at what's going on in the UK, California is pressing the same strategies with the laws, right? So a friend of mine actually messaged me and said, people are turning in their shotguns left and right over here in the UK because not only do they have this ammo issue over there, but then they also have to have a special permit to keep their guns. Well, during COVID, the police got so backlogged with keeping up all these permits so that you can keep your firearm. This is like an annual thing, right? So for us, all we worry about is hunting license if we actually hunt in that state.
Right.
Well, now you have to worry about, I got to have a permit just to keep the gun that I purchased 20 years ago. So if the police department, I don't know if it's actually the police department, this way it was communicated to me. If they aren't on schedule and your permit lapses, you have to turn your gun in.
You get it back?
I mean, it depends on when you get your permit, right? Like, but this ongoing log of, so it's a strategy, right? To take firearms away from gun owners. And guess who is talking about implementing this exact structure in their state? California.
Got to be California.
It's got to be California.
And they have some fantastic hunting out there too.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I've pheasant hunted there. I've waterfowl hunted there multiple years. I mean, it is a phenomenal place for wing shooters to be.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying that the wing shooters don't understand what's going on until it's too late. So here, this kind of leads into the other thing, because I do work with some of the California waterfowl people that are in the state that get on the political side. So the other thing that's really cool about SCI that nobody else has is the super PAC. So they actually, if you follow them and it comes election season, which is what we're in, then they will tell you the breakdown of people's stances, right? So they go and invest in politicians and promote politicians that are out there fighting for us, protecting us. So it takes all the guessing game out of where we need to be. So if you live where, and I've always talked about this, this was why I got introduced to SCI. Trevor Santos introduced me to SCI because of this speech that I started almost 10 years ago. If we lose our Second Amendment, we lose America. It's not even about hunting, right? It's about our gun rights. If we lose that, then we become like everyone else. And so SCI is out there saying, hey, like, hunters carry. Second Amendment is super important to us, no matter if it's a pistol for protection or something else, rifle or shotgun. So SCI is out there doing the homework, building the relationships everywhere for us. I mean, not just in DC, but worldwide.
It's amazing. Even as involved as I am in SCI, I sit on a number of committees within the organization. I don't know if it's possible to know everything that they're doing.
There's no way.
It's so much, right?
I have a list of highlights, and I wish I could deep dive into this, but by the time that I figured it out, it would already be twice as long. Like, they would have already conquered so much more,
Yeah,
unless you're in the office, I don't think you can keep up. But regardless to say, if you are a hunter, if you love the American wing shooting lifestyle, you just got to jump on board with us. And that's why I wanted to have you on today, is because we've talked about this so much, I mean, you're the perfect example of someone that's a powerhouse within the organization that doesn't have a full-time job and a full-time position with the organization. And, you're just a leader for all of us out here that love our lifestyle and want to make a difference.
I appreciate that. I don't know about the powerhouse, but I'll take it with a grain of salt, but
Okay, this is fine. So get into more of a fun-loving conversation.
Let's have it.
And topic. Okay, so you're rattling around the ice over there in your special cup. And this is probably one of my most favorite stories of SCI and the camaraderie and the relationships built.
Yeah.
That cup. The Red Solo Cup group. I want you to talk about how that all came to be, because I know you told me a while back, and I love this story. I probably would butcher it if I had to retell it myself.
So we were in Reno in 2019. And, with convention, I've gotten to meet a lot of people my age. Now, I've been going to convention now 10 plus years. And back when I started going, there weren't many people my age around. And so my buddy Mark Kessler said, well, look, I've got a couple of friends here. They're brothers, Brett and Blake Evenson, and another friend, Brittany Hosmer, now Longoria. And next thing you know, like, we're hanging out. We're all the same age. We enjoy hunting. We enjoy walking the convention floor together, and we had dinners and drinks, and we just started having fun. So we, without knowing, created our own social circle within convention. Right? And there's conventions just so wild. They're exhibitors from all over the world, and
There's literally events like parties that start from 9 o'clock in the morning until the last one starts at 11 o'clock at night. Like, it's bam, 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 all
it's
the time.
overwhelming. And so over time, we started thinking, well, man, there's not a whole lot of folks our age, and
Mhm.
the marketing, the membership, and everything started improving. We started seeing more people around. You heard Trevor Santos, and now you're showing up, and and bringing your friends with you, and that's kind of how it's developed. And so now you walk around and you look at people from, I'd say, mid 20s to 50, that
Oh, yeah.
25-year window.
They're growing families
It's
now. Like, there's kids in strollers.
it's an overwhelming number of attendees at convention.
Right.
And then, because it used to be, there was the belief that, oh, well, if you're old and wealthy, then you could be in Safari Club. And so you had a lot of folks our age not really jumping into it. And that's changed. And so what happened over the years?
No, what happened in the beginning?
So what happened over the years, now I'll get to this, is we would all hang out together. After the convention, we'd say, well, the convention day, let's get all cleaned up for the banquet dinners at night, and we'll meet and go have drinks and then go to the dinner. And so just everybody get down here by this time, and then we'll all walk together to dinner. Not a big deal. So we're going into Reno, and I remember talking to Blake, and I said, hey, you're already skiing Lake Tahoe. I'm coming in tomorrow. Why don't we get some drinks and snacks for the room? And we were sharing a couple of rooms between a group of us. I said, hit a liquor store and, get some Crown, get some vodka, get some mixers, and we'll get snacks, and we'll kind of have our own little mini setup there in our room. So the very first night, and there's some pictures on my social media and on the club page, that we just made drinks in our hotel room, trying to save a couple of dollars, because a drink in a casino is like $20, right? And we're like, we'll just make a drink, and we walk down to the Beretta dinner, which is always,
Which is the fanciest, biggest banquet
it's a
of the
black
whole
tie
week.
gala. It's like the nicest thing, event of the week in terms of formal clothing. Okay. And so we leave the room, and we've got plastic red Solo cups that Toby Keith sang about.
Yes.
And we walk into the room, and everybody else had like a 10-ounce clear plastic cup, and we walked in with these red Solo cups. Nobody stopped us at the door to walk in. Everybody was coming. Where did you get that drink cup? We just made drinks in the room. Just made drinks in the room. All right. Next morning, the first morning of show, we're leaving the room. I was like, man, I'm going to just put a Dr. Pepper on ice in a cup. We all fix drinks. We all walk downstairs. We go into the convention with red cups. And all the attention it got. And we're like, oh, this is so funny. And so this is kind of like when hashtags were becoming a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so we said, well, we'll just put hashtags, and we'll just put letters on there. And I'm blanking on it now, but the first letter of each word. And so we would have a phrase or something funny that happened from the night before. And one of them I won't forget was somebody said, well, how come I don't have a red cup? And one of us said, you're not one of us. And all of a sudden, we got a Sharpie, and we wrote on the cup, hashtag, and then NOO, you, not one of us. And people are like, what is that? And so we had that on our cup the next day. What's that mean? Hey, I'm sorry, you got to figure it out. We'll fast forward real quick. And I found this company, Wild Gear. Talked to them, and they have a metal tumbler, white lining, red Solo cup thing. So
yeah, because it's like a normal, like a Yeti kind of thing, but it looks like a Solo cup.
Bingo. So I found it, I was like, all right, guys, we got to get them. And so we had a group of like 5 or 6 of us at the time, and so we got a half dozen. And then we just put, I forgot what it was, like hashtag SCI show or something on it for the next year. We walked in the room, people lost their minds. And then all of a sudden we realized, hey, wait a minute. We have all of our friends here. We need to start getting cups for them. Like, we'll make you a club member, right? So that we'll get you a cup. And then after a couple of years, we decided, well, wait a minute. People are expecting the cup. We got to step it up and do something different.
Okay.
So after hours over several months of searching online, I found a corduroy camouflage jacket. Okay, you're familiar with the jacket. So I send an email out with a link to our group saying, here's the jacket. Get one. They were on sale for $99.
No way!
From this awesome company who I'm currently working on a project with, Taylor Bird, who is a men's clothing company. And so stay tuned for next year. Convention next year.
Okay, I'm excited.
Just watch. So we all ordered the jackets. So we had that for a year. Then Blake's like, wait a minute, I'm going to have a logo made up. So he had a friend who was a graphic designer. We get a logo it's a goofy group of friends. So
No, it's amazing. Like, y'all are wonderful.
So we create
like every party.
We create a logo, and we've got like a little social club. So
yeah,
SCI makes a move away from Nevada, which it had never done, and we moved to Nashville in 2023 for year number 1, away from Nevada. And we realized, wait a minute, that hotel bar that we would all meet up in before we go to dinner does not exist. We don't have a host hotel. We're in 12 different hotels.
Right.
Oh, how are we going to meet up with our friends? And that, a fun part for those of you not familiar with the SCI convention, a fun part of the entire experience is normally at the end of the day, whether it's before or after a dinner, the host hotel bar was packed. And you'd run into the Jim Shockeys of the world, and you'd run into your best friend. You run into people who you met that day that you were trying to book a trip with. So young and old outfitters and attendees would all just kind of show up in the hotel bar. And it was an unforgettable experience, and you made so many connections there. And
don't you think that they've done a great job with the big bar now at the top of the escalators?
Now the big bar now is really a cool concept, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm late to every banquet because of all the people hanging out at that bar.
At that bar. But before we had knowledge that would even exist, we had a panic in our group. We're like, wait, okay, so you're at that hotel, you're over here, I'm here. How are we going to meet up before dinner? Like, what are we going to do? And we realized, wait a minute, let's forget the before dinner. Because if you've got to take an Uber, or if you've got a block walk or a 3-block walk, let's just not rush it. And so last year we negotiated with the spot and we rented the rooftop. And so on the
Losers.
What's that?
Wasn't it a Losers?
Yep, it's Losers. So we had the rooftop.
Yeah.
And we were sweating it out. We're like, God, is anybody going to show up? We had a guest list of maybe, on paper, the list I had 203 names on it.
How many people actually showed up? I mean, do you even have a number? Because literally the fire marshal should have been called.
Well, let's not get legal on it, but if there is a fire marshal limit, I would just add 25% to it. We had a packed house, and I'm not going to name drop here. I told you this story, though. but
Yeah.
some high profile people who anyone in the world would recognize walked up to the bouncer, presented the ticket, the paper ticket that we gave out to get in,
Yeah.
presented the ticket and was told, "I'm sorry, they're over
Should
capacity.
have got here earlier.
We can't get you in." And so we realized, okay, just like the red cup and just like the jacket deal, we're like, shoot, we're on to something. And we had so many people inquiring about the party. We got a larger space for 24. You were there at that
Yes.
one too.
Listen, I mean, I'm at every single party there, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to miss time with y'all, but y'all's party was the most fun. It was the funnest crowd, the funnest music. The place was awesome. I don't think that you're ever going to go anywhere where it's not just shoulder to shoulder people, but I bet I hugged 200 people that night.
Oh, and that, yeah,
It
that
was
was just walking
awesome.
in. That was just walking
Yeah.
in. And it was,
Yeah.
and look, you looked around the room. And so what we ended up doing when we created the guest list, we're like, okay, well, if it's just going to be us, it'll be like 30 or 40 people. You know, like we'll each bring a friend or a spouse or a date or whatever.
Mhm.
Then we're like, wait a minute. There's not really a true fun event for our age group. You know, for this 20, I'm not going to age myself here, but for this 25-year span of age, there's not
Yeah.
just like one event where all the younger half of SCI can come. And SCI worked for a few years with a young gun concept. And it was trying to get all the young people together. And it was normally before dinner in the evening. And so it was a short window of time. And I was at every one and they were nice. But,
Yeah.
you know, it was, okay, I got to jump in before I get changed before dinner. And so I'm leaving the convention floor. I'm going to pop in here for half an hour. And then I got coat and tie to put on and get back down for dinner.
Right.
And we're like, let's just do it at the end of the night. And Anna, it's been unbelievable. We had this year we had people trying to sponsor the event at the event. I had one fellow say, "Hey, I want to give you $5,000 to help out with your party." And
what'd you say?
No.
I'll send you a contract tomorrow.
I said, absolutely not. You're not paying for anything. And the fun thing about it is we're not asking for money. We're not fundraising. We're not trying to sell anything. We just have a spot where friends can gather. And then you just buy, if you want a drink, you buy your drink.
Well, what was so funny is that like the first year that we were in Nashville, JC got to come.
Yeah.
And she was there.
Oh, I remember. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then the next thing I know, she's like hijacked all my friends. You know? And I'm like, I can't even believe we're here, you know, like we're dragging her out in Nashville. And then this year she wasn't able to come because of school. She blew up my phone and probably everybody else's because they were texting her like, where are you? Why aren't you here? And she's like, I think I'm just going to ditch everything and drive up right now. I could be there in 4 hours. And I'm like, no, but I don't know if she will ever miss another convention. I mean, she's almost 22. So like, I don't know if she'll ever miss another convention because of the Red Solo Cup crew and how awesome they are, how welcoming they were to her she started coming when she was a kid.
I remember meeting her with you at
in Vegas.
Congressional Sportsman's cocktail hour. And
was that in Vegas?
It wasn't Nashville. It was Vegas or Reno, maybe. Yeah. And, she was just a kid. I was like, what?
Do you know that she spent a summer with them? She interned with them.
Right. And
yes, and Jeff was awesome for her. Just adopted her, took her in, opened up so many doors. And I don't know if it's official yet, but she also did an internship with Kemp last year.
Nice.
Got a big girl job there. So she's staying with us, and it's because of all these groups, all the people. Like, we are involved in a mission. Like, we're all mission minded, but we have the most genuine friendships while we all work together.
I think that's a fun thing that is a byproduct of us just kind of getting together is
Mm-hmm.
you brought your friends in, right? You brought your daughter in. We brought our
Oh
friends
yeah,
in.
this year I'm so sorry. I'm like, you're like, just let me know if you need more tickets. I'm like, I need 20 more tickets.
And look, and you had people you wanted me to meet that I never had the opportunity to meet
Well, it's not too
in the
late.
room that night.
Yeah.
No, I know
Yeah.
I'm going to meet them, but you're like, hey, can I get this guy in your party and this one? And here's who they are. I'm like, oh, absolutely. Bring them.
I mean, we have everything from massive politicians there.
Uh-huh.
Ball players were there. I brought a NASCAR driver there. I mean, it's just like all types of people from all different backgrounds that hunt all different kinds of things come in one place for one mission, and that is just to continue the tradition of hunting. And it is so much fun.
And it's a great time. Most people, when you think of a convention, it's normally a work related, like, oh, I got to go here and I got to get dragged out to dinner with people who I don't want to be with. This is, if you're listening to this, book it now. Go to the Safari Club website, get the dates, put them in your calendar. You need to be there in the middle of January. It's
a family tradition of hunters.
It's probably the greatest gathering of hunters in the world. And
I would confirm.
And not only that,
and it's so funny.
It's your new group of friends.
Because we're wing shooters, and everybody thinks Safari Club's all about big game people. You and I would never miss a convention.
Oh no!
Come hell or high water, we're getting to Nashville.
It's happening. And the funny thing, I didn't start deer hunting until, let's see, 8 years ago was my first deer hunt.
I quit when I got my dog.
And Anna, it was right down the street from you. I was in South Georgia, just north of Savannah, on my very first deer hunt. And
really, why would you? All the places you could go, you come to Georgia.
My best friend's family has land out there, and it's an annual thing that we do. But because of that, because of convention, I discovered outfitters who I now hunt with in Idaho. So my daughter, 2 years ago, went up with me and my dad. And so we had 3 generations in the field. And I had our friend, the marketing director there, come shoot video and photos of us. And so we made a photo album. And I gave a photo album to my daughter and to my dad. And I kept one of our journey there. And Jill has 3, I think she's on the cover, and 3 or 4 pictures inside of the Flying Bees book for Wing Shooting 2022.
Oh,
which
I
is
love
so
it.
cool, and so we're going back this year, and my wife is coming, my son, who's not a hunter, is going to make it, and I am going through the exciting and painful process of trying to find out how to fly my dogs commercially to Idaho. And it looks like Alaska Airlines may be the only option right now to do that.
I don't know. You know me, I drive everywhere.
So, not that I've checked out the drive, but on 4 different driving apps, it is between 37 and 38 hours, assuming 0 stops, to get from my house.
Well, you're gonna just have
to Idaho
to make a cross-country tour of it and plan some other stops. I mean, think about all the other places in between for you to go hunting.
Look, the dream, if I did not have to work to make money, would be I'd have a dog mobile. I'd get a Sprinter van set up for bird hunting. And I don't know if I'd live in it. I'd probably stay in motels and hotels and a tent every now and then. But I would leave in September and I'd come home in February.
I've done it. I've been the bird dog bum, and it was a blast. And I have 0 regrets of that time because I drug Tater along with me.
Yeah.
And so now to be able to have those stories, to have an organization that, I can give back to and have appreciation, because during that time I had no idea about SCI or anything that was going on or what they do for us or how involved I could be, it brings a whole new meaning.
Oh, it's fantastic. And another thing, you had, I'm going to say, my friend on your show, a while back who I've never met in person.
Oh,
Andy.
yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we can talk about Andy. Andy and his famous book.
and his book is fantastic. You know, I've read it and I love it. But the great thing though, now with social media, right, is you can keep up with all of your friends' adventures. And we have a mutual love outside of wing shooting and fishing and dogs. And he started posting pictures of all this Mexican food, all these tacos and everything. And I was like, all right. I said, you sealed the deal. I'm going to come hunt with you, and you're going to take me to that taco shop because that would be worth the journey for me.
Because you're obsessed with taco posts too.
It's one of my favorite foods. You know, the kids asked me, well, how can you eat that often? I was like, you don't ask, you know, questions about how often you eat cereal, which is every day. You know, I can have tacos every day. I'd be happy. I'd be happy. And pheasant tacos, by the way, are absolutely incredible.
That's awesome.
So
I forgot about our mutual friend up in Idaho.
Yeah. Oh. Dog barking. I don't know if you heard him.
You should have brought the dog on.
Well, let's see. Blue, come. We'll do a quick little dog showcase here. Come here.
Okay.
Come see, bud. Oh.
Here's my
boykin. And he is out of South Georgia from Fishing Creek Kennels. And then I've got I've got my English Springer, Gilly, and her lineage. Oh, she's funny. She doesn't like sitting like this. But
she's so cute.
She is out of the Texas Hill Country, but her pedigree is out of Great Britain. Oh. And lady Rachel Allenby was her breeder, and Rachel was originally from Great Britain. And guided out there was she may have been the very first, if I can recall, female guides in Great Britain. And her dad was a gameskeeper.
Any of these breeders? Did you meet these breeders through SCI or the internet?
I met them through the internet. We had to put down a previous Springer, and my wife said, if you're going to get another, it has to be female. You've had nothing but black and white, so we want liver and white, and I want to have this dog while the kids are at home for the summer.
That's perfect.
So I had a very short window of time, and through the SCI community, I don't know if you ever got to meet Joe Hosmer.
Joe Hosmer, I love him. So my story with Joe is on Britt's episode.
Yeah.
Because when I first started with Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever, he was on the board there. And of course, in my first convention, I didn't know who he was. But he always made me feel so special and like I belonged. And then to find out what a pillar of our community he is.
Unbelievable.
You know, it's the most special relationship. And the only regret I have is not being able to have had more time with him.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think everybody who's met him feels that way. When I reached out to Joe, I was like, Joe, through your connections, I need help. And the internet, and ended up somebody who didn't have dogs said this lady had dogs, got her on the phone. She had sold all the puppies, and then a buyer fell through for a female, liver and white. I was like, oh, bingo. So just, you know, the hunting community is fantastic. The joy of the internet is now we can all be connected. And, you know, if you're in a great organization, stick with it. You know, I don't think it matters if it's Quail or Pheasant Forever, SCI, Ducks Unlimited, whatever you happen to be with.
We do it all. We literally do it all.
But
I love our friends
others
here.
You know, get involved, because, and especially SCI, you know, the conservation efforts of all the other groups is absolutely amazing, right? But having somebody like SCI out there fighting for you to make sure you can keep hunting, that's critical. You talked about the super PAC earlier. Our chapter, in our short span of existence here, has given, I think, over $150,000 to the super PAC.
Okay, so since you guys are giving so much for everyone, I want you to give your chapter a plug because you guys have an event coming up as we close our episode. So if anybody has just been thrilled to get involved with Richard's group down there in Louisiana, how do they find you? How do they come to this cool shooting event that you've got coming up?
So we are on May the 4th. We've got our 8th annual clay shoot, and that's going to be at Wilderness Gun Club. And morning shoot, but the bonus here is for lunch, we're having boiled crawfish, all you can eat, and we've got drinks provided so you will not be thirsty for the low price of an SCI membership.
No way!
It costs you nothing. So
okay, so where do people go to register?
All right, so if you go to our Facebook page,
which is
Acadiana LASCI, or if you just type in on the search bar to make it easy, SCI Acadiana, and it'll pop up. As you start typing ACA, you'll see DIANA pop up. Click it. It's under events. We're running them as 2 separate events because not all of our members will shoot. So all you have to do, come in that Friday night, wake up early, come shoot with us Saturday morning. It's a lot of fun. It's a great course at Wilderness. They take amazing care of the place. Then afterwards, you don't even leave the parking lot. We've got giant tents set up. You eat boiled crawfish right there. We announce the winners. It's a lot of fun. And Anna, look, we've even had people from Georgia come in for our event.
I think you might this year. I'm not sure I'm going to make it, but even if it's last minute, I'm showing up.
Well, bring all the dogs. You talk about your dog trailer. Bring them. Come on.
I'm selling my dog trailer. I'm trying to get down to the lowest amount of number possible so we can all travel in the truck.
That is the goal, right?
Well, Richard, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and really showcasing the culture of SCI Convention and what this organization stands for.
Absolutely. Love doing this. I'm glad after, a year and a half of trying to plan it, it actually happened. And sorry, I was a few minutes late hopping on with the calendar error.
It's okay. Well, I look forward to seeing you soon. And we are going to definitely keep posting about your shoot on May 4th.
May the 4th. Come on.